You're looking at a picture of Paul Donahue last week. He went to the Worldwide Developers Conference out in San Francisco, and then this week he returned home to, well, get back to his classes in the 8th grade. We'll have more on that growing trend today on Digits. Hi, I'm Lauren Good reporting for All Things Digital, and you're watching the WSJ Digits Show. Let's head straight out to San Francisco, where Jessica Vascellaro is standing by, and she's going to tell us all about the teens that were running amok at Apple's WWDC last week. Jessica, tell us the story.
Hi, Lauren. So among the 5,000 or so developers who came to San Francisco for days of technical sessions about Apple's new software, this year there were a number of teens. Apple allowed 13 to 17-year-olds to come for the first time. Previously, you had to be 18. And there were many on site who were attending the sessions and really networking like everyone else down in Moscone Center.
And did they have to pay the same kind of fee that other developers, adult developers, had to pay?
So Apple offered 150 student scholarships that covered the about $1,600 conference fee, but many did have to pay their own way, and there are some great stories about things parents did to raise money on Facebook to cover those travel expenses to San Francisco. There were also some who didn't receive scholarships who came as well, but you know, Apple's courting them and trying to make it as easy as possible, so they did implement that student scholarship program this year.
I'm curious about the kinds of apps that we're seeing made by these younger developers. In your experience, the people that you've talked to, what kind of apps generally are these young developers making?
Lauren, I just heard the end of that question, which was what kind of apps are these developers making? You know, it's really the gamut, and it ranges from very simple games, you know, stuff that they would want to play, as well as, you know, productivity apps. Paul Donahue, who you mentioned, told me he thinks games are time wasters, and his most recent app is for grocery shopping and coming up with a list and easily checking off items once you've purchased them. So I would say heavy on games, but really scaling up to lots of different types of services.
Grocery shopping, I like that. I wonder if Paul's maybe not aiming at the apps at his own demographic in that instance. Tell me a little bit about the barrier to entry for some of these young app developers, and then also on the other end of things, the rewards. How much money are these developers, or in some cases maybe their parents, you know, getting out of this experience?
So the barriers to entry are actually, you know, being able to teach yourself and find access to learn how to program. I mean, some of these kids are lucky enough to have resources at school, or there are a number of camps, but the most of the ones I talked to had actually taught themselves. They had a friend who had sort of gotten them hooked on it. Many spent hours on YouTube figuring it out. Once you can do that and pay the $100 or so to become a developer, you know, the barriers to entry aren't too high. Of course, it's a next step to be able to make money off of it, which some of these kids are doing. I mean, many say that they've made in the thousands of dollars, both from ads they run inside their apps and charging, you know, 99 cents or so. So, you know, I imagine most of the ones who made it to the developer conference were on the more successful side of the gamut, them being a whole range out there. But thousands of dollars, you know, for a 13-year-old is a pretty big deal.
Right, yeah, definitely a little bit more maybe than mowing lawns all summer. So you've been covering tech for quite a while, Jessica. In your experience, do you see the teen or young app developers getting as excited to build for other platforms?
It's a great question. So I was sure to ask every single app developer I spoke to about Android and the web. They did not have very nice things to say about Android, unfortunately, or just as a matter of fact. Now, of course, they're at Apple's developer conference. This is a particular sample size, but they say they find Apple's platform the easiest to use. And for kids, you know, I think that's particularly important. But many of them also sort of looked ahead to wanting to have sort of, you know, very high profile careers in the software industry and talked about wanting to learn new things. So I got the sense that Apple was sort of maybe hooking them, but they wanted to learn every language under the sun to, you know, try to stay on top of the trends decades into the future.
Right. Well, there you have it. Teen developers using apps as building blocks for their careers in technology. Hoping to probably be the next Kevin Systrom from Instagram. Jessica, thanks so much for joining us today. And you can check out Jessica's story online on WSJ.com and in the paper today.